It all began with whispers in Montecito, whispers that seemed harmless at first, passing from one private party to the next, casually tucked into conversations over champagne glasses and the clinking of fine crystal. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. But as the days turned into weeks, the whispers became more than idle gossip. They became a narrative that threatened to rewrite the public perception of one of the most watched and scrutinized figures of our time, Meghan Markle. Rumors about her life in California had long circulated among royal watchers, Hollywood insiders, and a curious public hungry for any morsel of insight into the woman who had captivated the world. But this time, the story was different. This was not speculation, not hearsay whispered in the backrooms of cocktail parties. This was fueled by images, pictures that had been shared by none other than Cory Vitiello, a man who had once shared close proximity to Meghan, someone who knew more about her private life than anyone outside of her immediate circle. And these pictures, they were not just casual snapshots. They allegedly exposed a side of Meghan Markle that had remained hidden from the world, a side that contradicted everything she had carefully curated in the public eye. As the sun bathed the rolling hills of Montecito in golden light, its beauty belied the undercurrents of secrecy and intrigue that coursed beneath the surface. Montecito, with its palatial estates, sun-drenched vineyards, and elite gatherings, is a world apart from the ordinary, a sanctuary for the wealthy and the famous. Here, privacy is currency, discretion is expected, and appearances are everything. Yet, even in a place designed for seclusion, secrets have a way of escaping. And in this case, the secret involved Meghan Markle, a woman whose life had already been dissected in the global spotlight. From the royal family's halls to the tabloid front pages, from television interviews to viral online debates. But despite all the scrutiny, what Cory Vitiello allegedly revealed in those images threatened to pierce through the carefully constructed narrative of Meghan's life in California and expose behaviors and associations that could shock even the most devoted observers. The first question that comes to mind is why Cory would take such a bold step. Why would someone who had been connected to Meghan risk everything to share these pictures? Some would say it was betrayal. Others might call it revelation. Perhaps it was a mixture of both. In a world where relationships intertwine with power, wealth, and public perception, motivations are rarely simple. And yet, the pictures, the whispers, the leaked conversations, they hinted at a pattern, a story that suggested Meghan had been involved with wealthy older men in Montecito, a lifestyle far removed from the carefully polished persona she projects on camera. Some labeled it as being a sugar baby, a term loaded with implications of secrecy, transactional relationships, and manipulation. But beyond the labels and the moral judgments lay a deeper question. How much of a public figure's private life should remain hidden, and at what point does exposure become not just news, but spectacle? For the millions of viewers, followers, and casual observers who have tracked Meghan's journey from Hollywood actress to Duchess of Sussex and now, an influential figure in her own right, the implications of these revelations are staggering. They force a reconsideration of narratives we thought we understood. They compel us to ask uncomfortable questions. Was Meghan's transition into the elite world of Montecito seamless? Or was it marred by hidden alliances and calculated relationships? What did Cory see, and why did he feel compelled to expose it? And perhaps most pressing of all, how does this impact the way we view the woman at the center of this storm? A woman who has inspired admiration, criticism, and endless fascination in equal measure. As we delve deeper into this story, it becomes clear that this is not just a tale of alleged scandal or private indiscretions. It is a story about trust, power, and the high stakes of life under public scrutiny. Cory Vitiello's alleged actions, sending images that reveal private moments, cannot be understood in isolation. They are tied to a larger context of Montecito's social scene, of wealth and influence intersecting with desire and secrecy. They are connected to the expectations placed upon public figures, especially women, who are scrutinized not only for their actions but for their relationships, their choices, and the way they navigate the spaces they inhabit. In this sense, the story becomes not just about the images or the allegations, but about the intricate dance between public perception and private reality, and the cost of a life lived in both simultaneously. Imagine for a moment the life Meghan leads in Montecito, A sprawling estate hidden behind gated walls, security personnel ensuring privacy, meticulously curated appearances, and a schedule filled with high-profile events, philanthropic commitments, and social engagements. This is a world designed to shield her from the chaos of public attention, yet it is precisely in this environment, where one would assume privacy is guaranteed, that these alleged revelations surfaced. The irony is stark. The very place that promises seclusion, protection, and safety becomes the stage upon which private actions are allegedly documented and exposed. And it is this contradiction, the tension between appearance and reality, that captures our attention and sets the stage for what unfolds in the coming chapters of this story. It is also crucial to recognize the human element, the emotional dimension of this unfolding drama. Cory Vitiello, by sending these images, becomes a central character in a narrative that is both intimate and explosive. The act itself carries emotional weight. A decision to expose, a decision to betray, a decision to reveal. It raises questions about loyalty, morality, and the consequences of crossing personal boundaries. For Meghan, the emotional toll is immense. The very notion that private actions, intended to remain behind closed doors, could be shared with a wider audience is a violation of trust, privacy, and personal agency. And for the public, it presents a moral and ethical dilemma. How should we engage with these revelations? Should we judge, sympathize, or simply observe? The answers are never simple and they are never singular. And then there is the question of perception. The world has long been captivated by Meghan Markle, fascinated by her choices, her relationships, and her public persona. But these alleged pictures, these revelations, threaten to complicate that perception. They challenge the neat narrative of Meghan as a former actress, a duchess, a philanthropist, and a media personality. They introduce ambiguity, contradiction, and controversy. They remind us that public figures, despite their carefully managed images, lead lives that are complex, multifaceted, and, at times, scandalous. And it is this complexity, this tension between public image and private reality, that makes the story compelling, gripping, and, for some, unsettling. As we prepare to examine the details of this story, it is important to remember that the unfolding narrative will touch on multiple dimensions: the personal, the social, the ethical, and the cultural. We will explore Cory Vitiello's motivations, the nature of the images, the alleged relationships with wealthy individuals, the societal reactions, and the implications for Meghan Markle's image and public life. Each facet of the story adds depth, nuance, and intrigue, creating a tapestry that is as complex as the lives it portrays. We will move carefully, deliberately, and with attention to the facts, anecdotes, and context that make this story not just a scandal, but a case study in modern celebrity, privacy, and social dynamics. By the time we conclude this introduction, one thing should be clear. This is more than a tale of pictures, allegations, or Montecito elites. It is a story about trust, secrecy, power, and the fragility of reputation. It is a story that asks us to confront our assumptions, challenge our perceptions, and consider the costs of a life lived in the spotlight. And as the chapters unfold, you will see that every image, every allegation, and every whispered secret carries significance, resonance, and consequence. The narrative will take us from intimate settings to public speculation, from private betrayals to societal judgments, weaving a tale that is both captivating and cautionary. As we delve further into the introduction, we must consider the stakes involved for Meghan Markle. Public figures often navigate a fine line between personal freedom and public expectation, but when private actions intersect with public curiosity, the consequences can be immense. In this case, the alleged revelations brought by Cory Vitiello are not just minor scandals. They strike at the very core of perception, trust, and morality. For someone like Meghan, whose life has been relentlessly scrutinized, each revelation carries the weight of global attention. Every image, every alleged interaction, every whispered rumor has the potential to redefine the narrative that the public holds about her. The images, whether fully understood or partially misinterpreted, become symbols of a complex interplay between private desires and public judgment. To fully grasp the magnitude of this situation, one must also understand the environment in which it unfolds. Montecito is not merely a geographic location. It is a microcosm of wealth, influence, and social hierarchy. The community's residents, often accustomed to discretion, navigate their lives within a web of expectations, social codes, and visibility management. In such a world, appearances are carefully curated, and private actions are shielded from public scrutiny. Yet the alleged pictures sent by Cory Vitiello disrupted this equilibrium. They threatened to expose secrets meant to remain behind gated walls, revealing a side of life in Montecito that few outsiders ever witness. The tension between secrecy and exposure, between the curated persona and private reality, forms the central axis of this narrative. What makes this story particularly gripping is the intersection of human psychology with fame and fortune. Cory Vitiello's alleged decision to share these images invites questions about intent, morality, and emotional complexity. Was this an act of revenge, a sense of moral duty, or simply a reflection of human curiosity and impulse? These questions are not rhetorical. They touch on the human tendency to navigate relationships with competing motivations. Trust and betrayal, admiration and resentment, loyalty and personal gain. All of these themes are intertwined in the narrative, making it relatable on a human level even amidst the extraordinary circumstances of celebrity life. Simultaneously, the alleged sugar baby narrative introduces additional layers of complexity. Society has long been fascinated by the dynamics between younger individuals and wealthy older figures, particularly in environments where social status, influence, and access converge. In Montecito, such dynamics are amplified by the concentration of wealth and social visibility. The idea that Meghan Markle could be involved in these relationships challenges conventional perceptions of her life, forcing a reconsideration of assumptions about her choices, motivations, and agency. It is a provocative assertion, one that is inherently designed to generate debate, speculation, and reflection. Equally important is the role of the media and public in amplifying these allegations. From traditional news outlets to social media platforms, stories about celebrities circulate rapidly, often blurring the lines between fact, rumor, and opinion. The allegations surrounding Meghan Markle and Cory Vitiello demonstrate how quickly private matters can become subjects of intense public scrutiny. Each leaked image, each commentary, each share on social platforms contributes to a narrative that may or may not align with reality. For viewers, it becomes a matter of interpretation. How much weight should be given to these claims, and how should one navigate the ethical considerations of consuming such content? These questions are central to understanding not only this story but the broader phenomenon of celebrity culture in the modern era. Moreover, the emotional impact of these allegations cannot be understated. For Meghan Markle, the potential exposure of private aspects of her life carries profound consequences, both personally and professionally. Trust, already fragile in high-profile relationships, is tested under the glare of public attention. Reputation, carefully cultivated over years, is vulnerable to distortion and reinterpretation. And for the audience, there is a complex mixture of fascination, judgment, and empathy, reflecting the human tendency to oscillate between condemnation and understanding when confronted with scandal. The emotional resonance of this story is what keeps audiences engaged, prompting them to question, reflect, and speculate about the events and the individuals involved. As we transition from this introduction into the unfolding chapters, it is essential to appreciate the intricate web of relationships, motivations, and societal expectations at play. This is not merely a story about pictures or rumors. It is a narrative about how personal choices intersect with public scrutiny, how trust and betrayal shape human interactions, and how societal fascination with celebrity culture amplifies every revelation. The images allegedly shared by Cory Vitiello serve as the catalyst, but the ripples extend far beyond, into the corridors of Montecito estates, into media narratives, and into the perceptions of millions who follow Meghan Markle's life. Finally, this introduction sets the stage for an exploration of a multidimensional story. Over the coming sections, we will dissect the intricacies of Meghan Markle's life in Montecito, Cory Vitiello's motivations and actions, the societal and legal implications of private exposures, and the broader context of celebrity culture. Each chapter will provide not only information but also analysis, speculation, and engagement, allowing viewers to understand the story from multiple angles while maintaining suspense and intrigue. The narrative is structured to balance dramatic revelations with thoughtful commentary, ensuring that the audience remains captivated while being encouraged to reflect critically on the complexities of fame, trust, and secrecy. By the end of this introduction, the stage is set. A world of intrigue, secrecy, and scandal awaits, centered on one of the most scrutinized figures of our time. The images, the alleged relationships, the whispers of Montecito elites, and the public fascination all converge into a narrative that is as compelling as it is controversial. And as we begin this journey, one question lingers over everything. What is truth and what is perception? The answer, like the story itself, is neither simple nor singular. It is layered, complex, and waiting to be uncovered. Montecito, California, is a name that evokes images of sun-drenched hills, sprawling estates, and a lifestyle that seems almost untouchable to those outside its gates. Nestled along the Pacific coast, just east of Santa Barbara, this enclave of wealth and privilege has long been a sanctuary for celebrities, business magnates, and royalty who seek privacy while maintaining a public profile. But Montecito is more than just its scenic beauty. It is a carefully curated ecosystem where social status, wealth, and discretion intersect, creating a world that operates by its own rules. Understanding Montecito is essential to grasping the backdrop against which the alleged scandal involving Meghan Markle and Cory Vitiello unfolds. The social fabric, cultural expectations, and geographical isolation all contribute to a unique environment where secrets can both thrive and be dangerously exposed. From the outside, Montecito appears serene and idyllic. Rolling hills dotted with eucalyptus trees, Mediterranean-style estates with terracotta roofs, and miles of pristine coastline give the impression of timeless beauty and tranquility. The streets wind past manicured gardens, fountains, and gates that promise both security and exclusivity. The natural landscape itself provides an unspoken barrier, creating a sense of seclusion and safety for those who reside within its borders. The fog-laden mornings and sun-soaked afternoons cultivate a lifestyle that feels removed from the ordinary pressures of the world. Yet this isolation is deceptive. Beneath the picturesque surface lies a complex social network governed by unwritten rules, influence, and the delicate interplay of public image and private reality. At the heart of Montecito's appeal is its privacy. Unlike Los Angeles, with its bustling streets and paparazzi-saturated neighborhoods, Montecito offers a rare combination of exclusivity and proximity to Hollywood's epicenter. Celebrities can enjoy the perks of being near the entertainment industry while maintaining distance from its relentless scrutiny. Security is rigorous. Gated estates, private roads, and professional security personnel ensure that the lives of residents are insulated from casual intrusion. It is within this cocoon of security that the lives of its inhabitants, such as Meghan Markle, are both protected and vulnerable. While privacy is promised, the concentration of high-profile individuals creates a social environment where appearances are scrutinized and deviations from expected behavior are noticed, often leading to gossip, speculation, or, in extreme cases, exposure. The social culture of Montecito is another layer of complexity. The community is tightly knit, composed of individuals who share similar wealth, influence, and visibility. Social gatherings, whether formal charity galas, casual private dinners, or exclusive beach parties, serve as opportunities to reinforce social bonds and display status. In such an environment, relationships carry weight beyond mere personal connection. Alliances and associations can affect one's social capital. For someone like Meghan Markle, entering Montecito's elite circles meant navigating this delicate balance of public perception and private interaction. Every event, every introduction, and every social maneuver carries implications that ripple through the community, and missteps, or revelations of hidden behavior, can generate disproportionate attention. Adding to the complexity is the intense media scrutiny that surrounds Montecito residents. While the community is designed for seclusion, it is impossible to completely escape the gaze of the media. Paparazzi may not roam freely as they do in Los Angeles, but journalists, bloggers, and social media enthusiasts are always alert for signs of scandal. In recent years, Montecito has gained fame as the home of several high-profile personalities, and this visibility has only increased the stakes for maintaining a flawless public image. For a figure like Meghan Markle, already accustomed to intense media attention, living in Montecito represents both a sanctuary and a potential stage. The alleged pictures shared by Cory Vitiello, if true, underscore this duality. Even in a place designed for privacy, actions can be observed, documented, and weaponized, demonstrating that no one, regardless of wealth or status, is immune to exposure. Born and raised in Canada, Cory Vitiello built his reputation in the culinary world through dedication, talent, and an intuitive understanding of flavors and presentation. He trained extensively, honing skills that would eventually see him rise to prominence in competitive culinary spaces. Over the years, Vitiello developed not only a reputation for gastronomic excellence, but also a keen understanding of hospitality and social engagement. Restaurants under his management became known not just for their cuisine but also for the experience, ambience, and cultural relevance they provided to patrons. This professional success positioned him within social networks that extended beyond the kitchen, bringing him into contact with celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influential individuals who frequented the establishments he managed. Vitiello's connection to Meghan Markle is central to understanding the unfolding narrative. While details of their interactions remain partially obscured, public records and credible reports suggest that their relationship extended beyond casual acquaintanceship. Vitiello is said to have been a trusted figure in Meghan's social and professional circles, someone who had visibility into aspects of her life that were not widely known to the public. In high-profile social environments, trust and access are currencies as valuable as wealth or fame. Vitiello's proximity to Meghan, therefore, is significant. It placed him in a position to observe, document, and potentially influence events that would remain private under ordinary circumstances. Over time, Cory Vitiello became more than a professional contact. He emerged as a confidant of sorts, someone whose opinions and insights were sought after in personal and social contexts. In elite communities such as Montecito, relationships are rarely one-dimensional. They are layered with expectations, mutual benefits, and, occasionally, tensions that arise from overlapping interests and ambitions. Vitiello's dual role as a respected professional and a socially connected individual placed him at a crossroads between personal loyalty and public accountability, a position that would later become critical in the context of the alleged revelations about Meghan Markle. The allegations regarding leaked pictures highlight a complex interplay between trust, access, and intent. For Vitiello to be in possession of images that potentially expose intimate or private behaviors suggests a level of confidence and openness in his interactions with Meghan Markle. At the same time, the act of sending such images, assuming these allegations are accurate, raises questions about motivation, ethics, and the social consequences of exposure. Was it an attempt to warn, to reveal, or to retaliate? The answers are not clear-cut, but examining Vitiello's character, background, and social positioning provides important context for interpreting these actions. Professionally, Vitiello's success is intertwined with his ability to navigate high-profile social environments. Running acclaimed restaurants, catering to celebrities, and participating in prominent culinary events requires a combination of skill, diplomacy, and social intelligence. These same qualities may also contribute to his ability to observe social dynamics, discern subtleties in personal behavior, and understand the consequences of exposure. In other words, his professional acumen is mirrored in his social awareness, creating a persona that is both influential and strategically positioned within elite circles. Beyond his professional and social credentials, Vitiello is known for his ability to maintain relationships across different spheres of influence. In Montecito, where interactions are closely monitored and reputations are closely guarded, His network extends to business leaders, media figures, and social elites. This breadth of connection amplifies the significance of any action he takes, including the alleged sharing of sensitive images. In a community where privacy is both prized and fragile, the decisions of a well-connected individual like Vitiello can have ripple effects, affecting perceptions, alliances, and the flow of information across multiple social strata. It is also worth considering the human dimension of Cory Vitiello's alleged role. Beyond professional skill and social positioning, his actions suggest a complex emotional landscape. Being in a position to expose private information about someone as prominent as Meghan Markle involves both risk and moral consideration. The act of sharing images, whether motivated by concern, frustration, or a sense of moral duty, is inherently fraught with emotional and ethical consequences. It requires navigating the tension between personal loyalty and public interest, between discretion and disclosure, between friendship and judgment. These emotional stakes elevate Vitiello's role from that of a passive observer to an active participant in a narrative that could reshape public understanding of a high-profile individual. Equally important is the question of credibility. Cory Vitiello is a public figure in his own right, with a reputation to maintain in professional and social arenas. The decision to be associated, even tangentially, with allegations about Meghan Markle carries reputational risk. If the images he allegedly shared are authentic, his actions place him in the center of a media storm. If they are disputed, he faces scrutiny over intent, authenticity, and judgment. In either case, the presence of Vitiello in this story underscores the delicate balance of influence, credibility, and exposure in elite social circles. His identity, therefore, is not merely a background detail. It is a lens through which the implications of the alleged revelations can be analyzed, interpreted, and understood. To fully appreciate the significance of Cory Vitiello in this narrative, it is necessary to consider the broader implications of proximity and access in high-profile environments. Individuals who occupy spaces adjacent to fame, whether through professional expertise, social connections, or personal trust, are often positioned to witness actions and behaviors that remain invisible to the public. This proximity creates opportunities for insight, but it also imposes responsibilities. Decisions about what to disclose, what to protect, and what to leverage are consequential, influencing not only personal relationships but also public perception. Vitiello's alleged actions, therefore, are emblematic of the tension inherent in these spaces, where access and discretion coexist with the potential for revelation and controversy. Moreover, Vitiello's personal narrative intersects with cultural fascination about the private lives of public figures. Society is drawn to stories that reveal hidden dimensions of those in the spotlight, particularly when the revelations challenge existing narratives or contradict established images. In this context, Cory Vitiello's alleged possession and sharing of images are not just acts between two individuals. They are catalysts for public engagement, debate, and speculation. His presence in the story magnifies the intrigue, highlighting how individual decisions in private contexts can generate consequences that ripple across media, social networks, and cultural discourse. Ultimately, understanding Cory Vitiello requires a multidimensional approach. He is at once a professional, a social actor, a confidant, and a figure whose alleged actions have become central to a narrative about trust, exposure, and scandal. His identity is intertwined with his proximity to Meghan Markle, his ability to navigate elite environments, and his engagement with both ethical and social considerations. As we move into the next sections, it becomes clear that Vitiello's role is pivotal, not just because of the alleged images he shared, but because of what his actions reveal about the complex dynamics of private life, public scrutiny, and interpersonal relationships within elite communities like Montecito. By examining Cory Vitiello, we gain insight into more than just one individual. We gain a lens into the social mechanisms, ethical dilemmas, and personal calculations that define life at the intersection of wealth, influence, and celebrity. His presence in this story provides a narrative anchor, allowing us to explore the implications of the alleged revelations about Meghan Markle, contextualize their significance, and understand the broader environment in which private actions can become public spectacle. The story of Cory Vitiello is, therefore, inseparable from the story of Meghan Markle. It is the bridge between observation and exposure, trust and betrayal, privacy and scandal. The story that has captured global attention pivots dramatically on a single element: the leaked pictures allegedly shared by Cory Vitiello. These images are not merely photographs. They are the fulcrum upon which the narrative of Meghan Markle's private life in Montecito teeters. While rumors and speculation have always surrounded the lives of public figures, the introduction of tangible visual evidence, whether authentic or interpreted through the lens of controversy, changes the stakes entirely. In this section, we will explore the nature of these images, the context in which they allegedly emerged, their potential implications, and the questions they raise about privacy, ethics, and public perception. First, it is essential to understand the environment in which these pictures were taken. Montecito, with its sprawling estates, private gardens, and discreet gathering spaces, offers residents the opportunity for moments of intimacy and privacy that few outsiders ever witness. For Meghan Markle, living within this environment meant having a sanctuary, a place where her life could unfold away from the constant scrutiny of cameras, tabloids, and public opinion. Yet the very seclusion that protects can also conceal, and in this case, it appears that private moments were documented in ways that would later become public, albeit indirectly. The leaked pictures reportedly depict interactions, behaviors, and associations that contradict the carefully managed public image of the Duchess of Sussex, highlighting a side of life in Montecito that is rarely, if ever, revealed to the outside world. The alleged pictures, according to multiple sources and insider commentary, show Meghan in situations suggesting relationships with wealthy older men, fueling the controversial narrative of her being a sugar baby. While the authenticity of the images remains subject to debate, the mere suggestion of such content has ignited a firestorm of speculation. In celebrity culture, where perception often eclipses reality, the presence of images, whether conclusive or circumstantial, can shape public opinion, influence media narratives, and alter reputations. For Meghan Markle, who has navigated public life under an intense microscope for years, the potential exposure of such images carries profound implications, both personal and professional. Equally significant is the alleged source of the images, Cory Vitiello. His relationship with Meghan, previously discussed, positioned him uniquely to observe private moments and potentially to document them. The act of sharing these pictures is not merely a technical transfer of files. It represents a deliberate choice, imbued with motive, consequence, and ethical weight. To send such images, whether to reveal, warn, or expose, requires navigating a complex moral landscape. It raises questions about consent, trust, and the boundaries of personal privacy, especially when the individuals involved occupy public positions with reputations at stake. In many ways, the alleged pictures act as both evidence and narrative device, offering a glimpse into private dynamics while simultaneously fueling public curiosity and debate. The content of the images, as reported, is layered and multifaceted. Some reportedly depict Meghan in social settings with older, affluent men, engaging in conversations, gestures, and interactions that, when viewed through the lens of the narrative, suggest a pattern of personal relationships aligned with the sugar baby allegations. Other images allegedly capture moments of intimacy or private behaviors that, although mundane in private contexts, acquire amplified significance when placed in the public eye. It is this duality, the ordinary made extraordinary through exposure, that generates the most intrigue. The images themselves become symbols, not just of behavior, but of broader themes: secrecy, influence, power dynamics, and the tension between private desires and public expectation. Analyzing the potential implications of these pictures requires an understanding of the social and psychological dimensions of exposure. In Montecito, where wealth and social status are intertwined, being documented in private interactions can have ramifications that extend far beyond the individuals immediately involved. A single image can alter perceptions, influence social alliances, and provoke gossip that travels rapidly through elite networks. The alleged images of Meghan Markle exemplify this phenomenon. They are not isolated artifacts but triggers that ripple through social, cultural, and media spheres. The act of their disclosure, therefore, is consequential, shaping narratives and provoking reactions that transcend the initial moment of exposure. Moreover, the ethical considerations surrounding the images are complex. Sharing private photographs without consent is universally recognized as a breach of trust. Yet when public figures are involved, the boundaries of privacy are often contested. Debates around consent, intent, and public interest emerge, with stakeholders, including media outlets, social commentators, and the general public, forming divergent opinions. Some may argue that exposure is justified in the name of transparency or accountability. Others may see it as an invasion of personal space and a moral transgression. The alleged pictures occupy this gray area, challenging conventional understandings of privacy, morality, and the responsibilities inherent in documenting or disseminating private moments. The narrative impact of the leaked pictures is magnified by the interplay between perception and reality. Images, unlike words, carry a veneer of irrefutable evidence. Even without full context, the visual presence can sway opinions, reinforce biases, and trigger emotional responses. For Meghan Markle, whose life has been meticulously documented and scrutinized, the power of imagery cannot be understated. The alleged pictures, therefore, are not merely snapshots. They are instruments of narrative shaping, capable of influencing how audiences perceive behavior, character, and intent. They transform speculation into a seemingly tangible reality, even as questions of authenticity and interpretation persist. In addition to social and ethical considerations, there are legal implications tied to the alleged images. Unauthorized sharing of private photographs can constitute violations of privacy laws, intellectual property rights, and personal security. For high-profile individuals, the legal ramifications are further complicated by the intersection of fame, media attention, and jurisdictional boundaries. Cory Vitiello's alleged role in disseminating the images places him within this complex legal matrix, raising questions about liability, intent, and the potential consequences for both him and Meghan Markle. While the law may provide some guidance, the moral and social dimensions remain contested, highlighting the multifaceted nature of privacy, exposure, and accountability in contemporary society. The reactions to the alleged images have been varied and intense. Within Montecito, insiders reportedly expressed shock, curiosity, and speculation about the content and its implications. Among the broader public, the images fueled discussions across social media, celebrity news platforms, and online forums. The images became a focal point for debate, prompting discussions about Meghan Markle's lifestyle, personal choices, and the intersection of celebrity and morality. This public fascination underscores the cultural power of images. A single visual artifact can ignite global attention, provoke emotional engagement, and shape collective understanding in ways that text or rumor alone cannot achieve. Finally, the leaked pictures serve as a lens through which to explore broader themes about human behavior, celebrity culture, and societal fascination with scandal. They illuminate the vulnerabilities inherent in living a life under scrutiny, the tensions between personal freedom and public perception, and the consequences of trust and betrayal. While the specifics of the images may continue to be debated, their narrative significance is undeniable. They catalyze discussion, provoke ethical reflection, and invite audiences to engage with complex questions about privacy, morality, and influence. In the unfolding story of Meghan Markle and Cory Vitiello, these alleged images are not merely incidental. They are central, shaping the trajectory of the narrative and providing a lens through which broader cultural, social, and ethical issues are examined. The term sugar baby has long carried with it layers of social judgment, intrigue, and moral complexity. In essence, it refers to a younger individual who forms a romantic or intimate relationship with an older, wealthier partner, often with a transactional element embedded in the arrangement. While such relationships exist across cultures and socio-economic contexts, the public fascination intensifies when celebrities or public figures are involved. In the case of Meghan Markle, the alleged sugar baby narrative has generated intense debate, fueling speculation about her relationships, motivations, and lifestyle in Montecito. To fully understand the implications of these allegations, it is necessary to examine both the cultural context of sugar baby relationships and the specific claims surrounding Meghan Markle. Montecito, with its concentration of wealth, high-profile residence, and exclusivity, provides fertile ground for relationships of this nature. The environment fosters interactions between individuals of vastly different financial and social standings, where connections can be cultivated, alliances forged, and relationships strategically navigated. In such a milieu, the allure of wealth and influence can intersect with personal desires, creating complex dynamics that are both socially accepted in private circles and morally scrutinized in public discourse. Allegations suggesting that Meghan Markle engaged in such relationships tap into these dynamics, offering a narrative that contrasts sharply with her carefully curated public persona. The sugar baby narrative, when applied to Meghan Markle, is particularly provocative because it juxtaposes public admiration with private speculation. As a former member of the British royal family and a global public figure, Meghan's life has been meticulously documented, analyzed, and debated. Every action, appearance, and statement is subject to scrutiny. The idea that she may have pursued relationships with wealthy older men in Montecito challenges the established narrative of her life post-royalty, introducing ambiguity and controversy. It raises questions about personal agency, the role of wealth in social interactions, and the ways in which public perception can be manipulated or challenged by private behavior. At the heart of the allegations are the images reportedly shared by Cory Vitiello. These images are alleged to depict interactions between Meghan and older, affluent men, suggesting a pattern consistent with sugar baby dynamics. This duality, public versus private, creates an inherent tension that is magnified by Meghan's celebrity status. The public expects transparency, authenticity, and moral consistency, often measuring actions against idealized standards. Yet the private individual, like anyone else, operates in a context of complexity, navigating personal desires, social dynamics, and strategic choices. Allegations suggesting transactional relationships or secretive social interactions disrupt the narrative of a cohesive, idealized public identity, raising questions about agency, authenticity, and the ways in which public figures reconcile these competing pressures. Meghan's situation exemplifies this tension, illustrating how the divergence between public perception and private reality can become both a source of intrigue and a potential vulnerability. Social media further complicates the dynamic between public and private personas. Platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok amplify curated content, allowing celebrities to project carefully constructed identities while simultaneously exposing them to immediate feedback, critique, and speculation. For Meghan Markle, social media serves both as a tool of self-representation and a channel through which rumors and allegations can spread rapidly. The leaked pictures reportedly shared by Cory Vitiello exemplify the vulnerabilities inherent in a hyper-connected world, where private actions can be transmitted and interpreted widely, often without context or consent. The tension between control over personal narrative and the unpredictability of public response is at the heart of the challenges Meghan faces in reconciling her private and public selves. Historically, Meghan's life has been marked by a delicate balance between transparency and privacy. As an actress, she navigated public visibility with relative autonomy, controlling the narrative through media appearances, interviews, and carefully managed public engagements. Upon entering the royal family, however, her visibility escalated exponentially, bringing unprecedented scrutiny and restricting the ability to maintain personal discretion. The transition to life in Montecito allowed for greater privacy, yet the alleged exposure through leaked images demonstrates that even in controlled environments, private realities can be vulnerable to revelation. The contrast between the controlled, polished public appearances and the alleged private interactions fuels both intrigue and controversy, highlighting the complex interplay between autonomy, reputation, and societal expectation. The allegations also reveal the pressures of role expectations imposed on women in the public eye. Meghan's public persona is often framed by expectations of moral integrity, grace, and adherence to social norms, particularly given her status as a former royal. Deviations from these expectations, whether real or perceived, are amplified and scrutinized in ways that extend beyond ordinary judgment. The private persona, which includes ordinary human behaviors and choices, may therefore be subject to disproportionate critique, particularly when it intersects with narratives of wealth, influence, or relationships with high-profile individuals. The sugar baby allegations exemplify this phenomenon, positioning private actions within a public moral framework that is simultaneously complex and unforgiving. Another layer of complexity arises from the strategic considerations inherent in maintaining a public persona. Public figures often make conscious choices about how to present themselves, selectively revealing aspects of identity while concealing others. This curation serves multiple purposes: protecting personal privacy, managing reputation, and influencing public perception. The alleged leaked pictures disrupt this strategic control, introducing a variable that challenges narrative consistency and forces public reevaluation. The images, whether accurate or exaggerated, highlight the fragility of curated personas in the face of unauthorized exposure, illustrating the vulnerability of even the most carefully managed identities. Cultural perceptions further shape the interpretation of Meghan's public versus private personas. Public fascination with celebrities often blends admiration, moral judgment, and voyeuristic curiosity. In Meghan's case, this blend is intensified by her status as a former royal and her position in a global media landscape saturated with both support and criticism. The allegations surrounding her private life in Montecito intersect with pre-existing narratives, biases, and societal attitudes, influencing how audiences interpret both her public actions and the alleged private behaviors. The tension between projected image and alleged reality thus becomes a lens for examining broader cultural dynamics around fame, morality, and the expectations placed upon high-profile women. At the core of the public versus private persona dynamic is a psychological dimension: the human need for autonomy, agency, and control over one's personal narrative. For Meghan Markle, navigating life in the public eye necessitates constant negotiation between self-expression and societal expectation. The alleged leaked pictures represent a potential breach of this negotiation, raising questions about consent, trust, and the impact of exposure on personal agency. The resulting tension between autonomy and perception is not merely an individual challenge. It reflects the broader societal fascination with private behavior, the ethics of exposure, and the complexities of celebrity culture. In conclusion, the contrast between Meghan Markle's public and private personas is central to understanding the unfolding narrative. The public persona, sophisticated, philanthropic, and polished, serves as the image presented to the world, carefully curated and managed. The private persona, as suggested by the allegations involving Cory Vitiello and the leaked images, introduces a layer of complexity, ambiguity, and potential controversy. The interplay between these personas highlights the challenges of maintaining authenticity, privacy, and reputation in a world where public fascination, media scrutiny, and social expectations converge. This tension is at the heart of the narrative, providing both context and depth to the allegations and setting the stage for the exploration of motivations, relationships, and societal reactions in the subsequent sections. Understanding Cory Vitiello's perspective is essential to comprehending the unfolding narrative surrounding Meghan Markle and the leaked pictures. In a story dominated by allegations, gossip, and public speculation, examining the motivations, intentions, and potential thought processes of the alleged source offers critical context. Vitiello is not simply a peripheral figure in this drama. His actions, whether intended as exposure, warning, or retaliation, serve as the catalyst that transforms private behavior into public discourse. By exploring his perspective, we can better appreciate the ethical, social, and personal dimensions of the situation, as well as the consequences of navigating relationships in high-profile, high-stakes environments. Cory Vitiello is a professional chef with a reputation for excellence and social acumen, yet he is also a human being subject to the same complexities of emotion, judgment, and loyalty as anyone else. His alleged decision to share images of Meghan Markle is, in many ways, emblematic of the tensions between personal loyalty and social responsibility. Vitiello's proximity to Meghan placed him in a position of unique insight. He may have witnessed private interactions, intimate conversations, or social dynamics that the public could not see. The choice to disseminate such material is rarely straightforward. It involves weighing competing factors, including trust, ethics, potential repercussions, and the perceived importance of the information. In considering his perspective, it is critical to examine these multidimensional pressures. From Vitiello's viewpoint, several potential motivations might have influenced his actions. One possibility is a sense of moral or social obligation. If he believed that the alleged behaviors contradicted publicly stated values or expectations associated with Meghan Markle, he may have felt compelled to reveal information to protect others, warn the public, or expose perceived hypocrisy. In this scenario, the act of sharing images becomes an expression of personal ethics, a decision made within the context of perceived duty, even if it carries risks for personal relationships and reputation. Conversely, another potential motivation could be personal grievance or frustration. Relationships in high-profile social circles are often complex, encompassing layers of expectation, loyalty, and subtle competition. If Vitiello felt betrayed, marginalized, or wronged in any way, sharing sensitive material could represent an act of retaliation, a way to assert agency, reclaim control, or communicate dissatisfaction. This interpretation highlights the human tendency to act based on emotional responses, particularly when the stakes involve reputation, social standing, or perceived trust violations. The social and psychological context of Montecito further complicates Vitiello's perspective. In a community where discretion is valued, social interactions are closely observed, and appearances are meticulously curated. Information carries both power and risk. Vitiello's position as a connected professional allowed him access to private spaces and interactions, yet it also placed him under scrutiny. Every action he took, from casual observation to alleged dissemination of images, was imbued with potential social consequences. Understanding this environment is crucial. It illustrates the delicate balance between personal agency, ethical consideration, and social accountability that individuals like Vitiello navigate daily. Another dimension of Vitiello's perspective involves the media and public reaction. High-profile actions rarely exist in a vacuum. They are immediately subject to interpretation, commentary, and judgment. For someone in Vitiello's position, sharing images of a public figure like Meghan Markle would inevitably provoke attention, speculation, and potential backlash. Anticipating this response requires a level of strategic awareness, as well as a willingness to accept personal and professional risk. Whether motivated by duty, frustration, or curiosity, Vitiello's decision to act carries with it an understanding that exposure has consequences beyond the immediate circle, affecting media narratives, public perception, and social dynamics within Montecito. Ethical considerations are central to understanding Vitiello's perspective. Sharing private images without consent raises questions about morality, trust, and responsibility. From a philosophical standpoint, such actions engage debates about the balance between personal loyalty and perceived public interest. Was Vitiello justified in his alleged actions because he believed the public had a right to know? Or was he violating trust in a way that is universally recognized as wrong? These ethical dilemmas are amplified in the context of high-profile relationships, where the consequences of exposure extend far beyond the individuals involved, influencing social discourse, media coverage, and public perception. The emotional dimension of Vitiello's alleged actions cannot be understated. Human behavior is often driven by a combination of rational calculation and emotional impulse. Feelings of betrayal, curiosity, concern, or moral obligation can all influence decision-making, particularly in relationships characterized by intimacy, trust, or complexity. From Vitiello's perspective, the decision to share the images may have involved a mix of cognitive deliberation and emotional response, an attempt to reconcile personal ethics, social responsibility, and emotional reaction. This interplay between thought and feeling underscores the multidimensional nature of human behavior, particularly in high-stakes social environments. Professional considerations also factor into Vitiello's perspective. As a chef and public figure, his reputation and credibility are tied to his actions, relationships, and social positioning. Engaging with a narrative involving a globally recognized figure like Meghan Markle inevitably intersects with professional risk. Decisions about whether to act, what to reveal, and how to frame information must be weighed against potential consequences for career, social standing, and future opportunities. Vitiello's alleged choice to share images suggests a willingness to navigate these risks, reflecting a calculated understanding of the stakes involved in high-profile disclosure. Social influence and relational dynamics further illuminate Vitiello's potential perspective. In Montecito, where social networks are tightly interconnected, every action reverberates across multiple spheres. Sharing sensitive information is not an isolated act. It affects relationships, alliances, and reputations. Vitiello may have considered how his actions would influence others in the community, anticipating reactions from mutual acquaintances, social peers, and media intermediaries. This awareness adds a layer of strategic calculation to his perspective, demonstrating how individuals in elite social environments must continuously navigate complex relational landscapes. The narrative consequences of Vitiello's alleged actions are profound. By introducing the images into the public domain, he potentially shifts the discourse surrounding Meghan Markle's life in Montecito. The images and the allegations they support act as focal points for public debate, media coverage, and social speculation. From Vitiello's perspective, understanding this influence is critical. His actions do not merely document private behavior. They catalyze cultural, social, and ethical discussions that extend well beyond the immediate context. This recognition highlights the weight of responsibility and the complexity of decision-making in situations where private actions intersect with public interest. Finally, Vitiello's perspective underscores the broader theme of human agency in the context of high-profile relationships. Individuals with access, observation, and influence must continuously navigate choices about disclosure, loyalty, and social consequence. The alleged sharing of images illustrates the tension between personal judgment and external impact, revealing how one individual's decisions can reshape narratives, alter public perception, and provoke widespread discussion. Vitiello's position, as confidant, observer, and alleged exposer, places him at the intersection of morality, strategy, and social consequence, providing a critical lens through which to interpret the unfolding story. In conclusion, examining Cory Vitiello's perspective allows for a nuanced understanding of the circumstances surrounding Meghan Markle and the alleged leaked pictures. His motivations, whether rooted in ethics, emotion, strategy, or a combination thereof, illuminate the complex interplay between personal agency, social responsibility, and public scrutiny. The ethical dilemmas, relational dynamics, and potential consequences he faces exemplify the challenges inherent in navigating high-profile, high-stakes environments. By considering Vitiello's viewpoint, we gain insight not only into his alleged actions but also into the broader social, cultural, and psychological context that frames the story. His perspective is a key component of the narrative, providing depth, explanation, and a lens through which the implications of exposure, trust, and public perception can be understood. Montecito is more than just a picturesque coastal enclave. It is a tightly knit social ecosystem where wealth, influence, and reputation intersect. The community's social dynamics are highly structured, guided by a mix of tradition, exclusivity, and unspoken codes of conduct. Understanding these social circles is essential to appreciating the significance of the alleged revelations involving Meghan Markle and Cory Vitiello. The reactions within Montecito to these claims, whether private or public, reflect the delicate balance of curiosity, judgment, and loyalty that governs interactions in this elite environment. At the core of Montecito's social fabric are the relationships between its residents. Elite gatherings, charity events, and private dinners are more than mere social occasions. They are opportunities to reinforce alliances, demonstrate status, and maintain influence. In a community where appearances are meticulously curated, information travels swiftly, often informally, through whispered conversations, shared observations, and subtle social signaling. When a figure like Meghan Markle becomes the subject of attention, particularly under allegations as provocative as those involving sugar baby dynamics or leaked images, the ripples extend quickly, engaging multiple layers of the social network. Every comment, gesture, or speculation can influence perception, relationships, and hierarchy within the enclave. The reaction of Montecito's social circles to the allegations can be understood on several levels. First is the private reaction, which encompasses responses behind closed doors among friends, neighbors, and acquaintances. In these settings, the news of the alleged pictures would likely provoke a mixture of shock, curiosity, and cautious discussion. Residents might debate the authenticity of the claims, speculate on the motivations of Cory Vitiello, and consider the implications for Meghan's reputation within the community. Such private conversations are often highly nuanced, balancing the desire for social gossip with an awareness of discretion and reputation management. The second level of reaction involves social signaling and positioning. In elite communities, individuals often communicate their stance or opinion through subtle cues rather than overt statements. Attending or avoiding events, engaging in certain discussions, or showing visible support or skepticism can all function as signals of alignment, judgment, or strategic positioning. In the case of Meghan Markle, Montecito's residents would likely navigate a delicate line, acknowledging the allegations without appearing overly judgmental, while also managing their own social credibility. The interplay of subtle cues, reputation management, and social hierarchy creates a complex web of reactions that extends far beyond the surface-level curiosity or gossip that might be visible to outsiders. Public reactions, though more limited in Montecito due to privacy norms, still play a role. While residents generally maintain discretion in the public sphere, the proximity to media, social influencers, and online platforms means that news, even private or semi-private developments, can leak and reach a wider audience. In the age of social media, the boundary between private circles and public perception is porous. A whispered comment at a private dinner or a speculative conversation among neighbors can quickly evolve into a broader discussion online, magnifying the impact of the alleged images and allegations.